5 seconds remaining. Radiant team, team bad. Ten seconds remaining.
This one should be a lot better for Motivate. Omega's been struggling a bit. You know, their roster has shifted around a lot. They've had a lot of subs stand in. I believe last time they had Krish coming in and Aaron as well. I'm not sure who's playing right now because they're not properly tagged. I'm not particularly sure if they've changed their names from last time. So we'll see who does end up playing today for Omega, but it's been rough going for them. You know, the bottom of group so far, they need to find an actual one series, I think, to at least climb up. If it ends up being draws, I don't think they're going to be able to try to claw their way up from the bottom slot, and they might risk elimination. So every single match counts for Omega. Need to find a 2-0. Motivate Trust, a tough team to do it against, but we have seen them. They were a bit shaky in that first series. You know, they made some drafting mistakes in game 2, some strange decisions in the game in game 1. So we'll see if Motivate Trust kind of clean up their act and push through in this second series back-to-back. Of course, it can cause fatigue, but I think that birthday momentum for Jackie should still be in place, so we'll see if they manage to play on top of that. Ooh.
Dire team bad. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team bad. Dire team bad.
Yeah, I think the Medusa pick into Lion does feel a bit awkward though. Like, you do have good mana drain, at least early on, to kind of take care of that shield from the Medusa. So it does become a little bit softer just from the Lion being around. You have good hold here from Omega as well with the Lion and the Tide Hunter to an extent, with a Ravage coming through, along with the Earth Spike and the Hex. So there's a lot of ways to hold down the Weaver and the Medusa here for Motivate Trust. I think Omega has a much stronger opening in that sense. For Motivate, it's all about kind of protecting the Medusa now, getting some strong team fight picks on the offlane, in particular for Masaros to help build up with Stone Gaze of Medusa. No option for Mars, as that was first phase banned. So you don't have the option for Arena Stone Gaze, which is really strong for Medusa. And you're going to have to look for a different way to kind of maximize that. Of course, the Tide is on Omega's side, so that's kind of gone for Masaros as well. We're just going to have to see what they can do to build up some team fight here. For Omega, and starting with Tide Lion, it actually doesn't tell you much because the Tide could still be a 5 with Lion 4. So you could still run something else on offlane if you feel like the Tide's not going to be able to pressure the Medusa early on. And they could kind of go that route. It's still flexible enough, it's still open enough to look for a stronger matchup for Medusa if they feel the need to, and still apply pressure on Jackie there.
Radiant team pick. Radiant team pick. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team back.
Oof. What? you don't like Tinker? I mean, I hate playing against it, but it is very, very strong in the right hands. You know, the laser mischance is there to handle the Deuce's physical. The early presence that you have with the... the key, whatever it is that his new teleport is called, you know, you have such great global presence early on. Of course, it's not amazing because of the channel time scaling with levels, so you're going to need to hit level 18 to have much greater presence, but you can kind of just deal with the Deuce by playing super fast. The Tinker's not a slow hero anymore. It does kind of show up very quick. You can still kind of play, you can clear out stacks with a Tinker, with a laser as well. And Snapfire and Tide can kind of help you out with that. And just kind of take control early, so you can kind of snowball off with a Tinker, with a Snap, with the Tide. So much great team fight, so much great control here. For Motivate, I mean, there's the Puck Undying, right? This is a Q specialty Undying. We have seen him play it a lot, or set 0, very flexible between those two players. And they get a lot of impact from it. So much healing coming through, so much sustain. The Tombstone can be annoying, but Omega are kind of set to melt the Tombstone with a Snapfire already. So they've got a great way of just taking care of that big area denial from Motivate Trust, and we're still not seeing the strongest combination with the Stone Gaze. Dream Coil is there from the Puck. It's not the most amazing. It's not that instant area denial you have, especially if Omega does split up. So I'm still wondering what they get here for Monstros to kind of compensate for that. But I feel like Omega is coming out with a stronger draft. Like the Tinker here, you don't have a direct Tinker counter. There's no Nyx, there's no Clockwork. Puck in lane can kind of handle that quite nicely, but in terms of catching this guy out once he's got a blink up and heads to the side lanes, none of your heroes can really catch that well except for the Puck.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Not many options. I think, I don't know, a Pangolier maybe? That could help them out. They go to Spirit Breaker instead. So there's something that can help you control Tinker, right? You've got charge, you've got a way to track vision on Tinker, ensure that he can't just jump in and do what he wants. The Spirit Breaker can help you manage that, and also plays with that timing you talked about earlier, Mike. Like, they want to run and gun as 4. The Spirit Breaker will enable that, along with a Puck and Weaver supports with the Undying to help you sustain. So you have a lot to play with there, but I feel like if Omega just get this pause 1 that can hold the lane against Spirit Breaker, you're fine. Like, there's still a lot of options in that sense. Not many pause 1s taken out. And you could try for Terrorblade. That can be fairly quick tempo. The early aggression coming through with the magic damage on Motivate Trust can make that tough, but it does scale nicely and can keep up with Adusa. If you want something with a little bit more flash farm to match Adusa, but hits earlier timings, a Luna can also kind of show up here if they wanted to go that route, and it still plays fairly quick with a Tinker to just back up the Luna every single time. It's still fairly open for Omega, but they don't have too much time to think about it, though. Down to around 10 seconds on reserve here.
Choose your hero.
Yeah, I think the Ursa is going to have a lot of ways to play around that. In terms of helping them get momentum, I think you just kind of have to ride it through the laning phase, hit level 6, and it's at that point where the Spirit Breaker can go for those global ganks and just kind of back up the Puck. Like, Fearless can also be really active on the Puck, maybe just needs initial items up, maybe a fast fuel, so you could gun for the travels this game as well if you want that global presence. That could be really good for Fearless in tracking the Tinker. in keeping that pace up. So you just kind of need to ride through the first 10 minutes, I'd say. Even then, the early laning presence from Motivate Trust isn't too bad. You've got Undying, you've got Weaver, which can be leveraged quite nicely. For Omega, though, they have a lot playing for them. I think their spike is level 6 specifically. So not quite 10 minutes, but once you get level 6 on your Snap, on your Lion and Tide, you have a lot of team fight going through there. And just take over and rip through. You've also got the Ursa against Dusa matchup, which once you get a Diffusal Blade on the Ursa, yeah?
Hold on, I've got to get up for a second and quickly do something. So, I mean, I can see you've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to leave you to it. I will be back in about 15 seconds, John. All right. Let's hope to God there's not a level 1 team fight.
Doesn't look like it. Level 1 smoke from Omega. Gonna be wrapping around his team, but down the line, back to the point, Ursa down the line against Dusa can still actually work out until Hyper Form comes out in Dusa. So like Ag's timing with Shard can get a bit tricky when the Deuce is there, but you have a lot of heroes to kind of try to deal with that. Again, the Lion's there. As the smoke, looks like they might catch out Q. The Weaver is slippery though, so they're not going to commit. They're going to cut into the high ground first, into the triangle. Fearless does spot them out. And now Motivate can collapse in. There is a nice forward ward to block out the small camp as well. Zero does have the decay. Could get some big decays here if he does commit. Not yet. They will come in. Van already dropping low. Masteros with a level 1
my
bash.
God, it actually
nice
happened.
Stuns from Hero. No kills yet. So the wraparound came, Mike, but you didn't miss anything. They didn't get the kills.
Every time I get distracted, there's a level 1 team fight. Luckily, John, I believe my camera work was on point while I was gone.
Oh, yes.
I set it to Omega, so I think I had all the vision. And well, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought about the John X Fire play-by-play.
No,
you just.
No, you don't need to say.
I need 10 more seconds. I left the front door open, John. What's that?
All right, so we're going to see the lanes break out. Just a bit of tag for the runes. Even trade in the end. Of course, we're going to take a look at the bot lane. Hero on the line. He's going to be running down to join up with Van on the off lane Tide. They are going to be up against Set Zero on the Undying and Jackie on the Medusa. So Undying Medusa lane can be aggressive once you do get levels up. That's more on the Undying hitting, say, a level 2, level 3 spike. But you can spam out Decay and nuke down with a Mystic Sneak and the Soul Rip. So you can play in that way, but the control coming out, the presence from these two heroes with Tide Line. Level 1, not amazing. But once you hit, say, level 2 as well, it's pretty big. And you have to watch yourself for Set Zero. Does have 2 mangoes to kind of play tag with, but doesn't want to trade directly with level 1 Gush from Van. So that Gush just drops your Undying all the way down to minus armor. That's never a good point for any sports kind of trading. Still, gonna be a stable start, and I don't really see Jackie managing to completely overwhelm the lane. At the same time, if Set Zero manages to secure these first 2 levels, then he should be giving Jackie a little bit more space to build up here.
Oh, thank you very much for that, John. Apologies about that, ladies and gentlemen. Bit of a... I don't want to say it's an emergency kind of break there from me, but, you know, I had to get out there and sort out what needed to be sorted out. Then we'll have a look at the mid lane, John. Of course, you've got Fearless against Piols there on the Tinker and the Puck. Of course, you know, John, every time we have a Tinker in the game, it's mandatory for me to talk about how terrible this hero is. The Piols, unfortunately, forced to play this Tinker hero. Now, you seem to think during the drafting phase that this was a good pick. Now, of course, this was before the Spirit Breaker came out in your defense. Do you still think it's a good pick now against the draft to Motivate?
I think it still works. The Spirit Breaker does put a bit of a dent in it, so Fjalt's is going to have to be a bit defensive with how he postures himself when he comes out. Maybe work towards I don't know, some sort of self-protection. A Eul's could help out, although you don't normally see Tinker Eul's, but you have to find a way to kind of dodge out that initiation. And once you have a tool to get that done, you feel pretty safe. Mid matchup isn't too bad for Piols, although Fearless has kind of worked this lane out in his favor, and he has to watch himself. Dropping really low here, Fearless.
Yeah, Rocket's out as well, but in the meantime, Prince is the one who secures first blood. Up at the top lane on the Ursa, Q the one to go down to the Weaver, which is something I didn't expect to really say or be seeing here. Is you'd think the Weaver would have Sakuchi to just be able to get away, but not quite the case. So Omega, they managed to secure first blood on the Ursa of all people. It's definitely a fantastic start for the Dire side.
Yeah, I mean, you've got this great combination with Snapfire Ursa for Omega. Right, you can kind of Earth Shock in, get the cookie out as well down the line. Once that's leveled up, of course, even with just a little Shredder and Scatterblast, you have a lot of burst. And they've got this nice Sentry to watch the Shikuchi, so they can kind of punish the forward movement out from Q. For Motivate Trust, this can be a lane that works up its aggression with the swarm up and running. So if you look to play aggressive, get some bashes off, you can kind of take control. The issue is you might not want to necessarily jump the Ursa. He is fairly tanky, and he can fight back with the Fury Swipes. You're relying on a chance-based stun to kind of win out those trades.
Me set 0 now going down to the bot lane, so the Undying getting caught out here. Van and Hero able to set up. It can be a little bit rough for the Undying against this kind of duo as well. Like, you need to get aggressive for the Medusa, and you need to just kind of be at the front, annoying Van on this tide. But it is rather easy for them to turn around and just pick you off if you don't have that Soul Rip available. I suppose set 0, in some sense, dying was a positive thing because Fearless did need the bottle refill, and he probably needed a reset on the Undying anyway.
Yeah. Just one of those things with the Undying, you kind of want to melt your mana, get some presence. PL, though, could be in danger.
Uh-oh. Tombstone down. They're going to try and fight, but no, he's fine. It's Fearless that's in danger. He'll try to Waning Rift. In fact, he'll all back the other way. In the meantime, they found PLs on the Tinker, and Fearless will survive throughout all of it. So in the end, it was a confident play, but does pay off for Motivate Trust. But I've got to tell you, it looked very scary there for a moment, at least for Fearless.
Yeah, and not only that, the commitment for Motivate Trust also cuts off and gets both water runes up for Fearless. So he gets basically reset in the mid lane, manages to hold out, and was a bit of a back and forth start for Fearless. This evens it out by a great amount. So PL is going to be playing on back foot now. EXP disadvantage for him, as Motivate Trust does get a really great set of kills. Like, just bullying the Tinker early on is the key to the game. You don't want the Tinker to get a running start to level 6. That early rotation does mean it's going to be a bit slower going for PLs. Of course, they are building up stacks, and that is something the Tinker can clear out. So there's still some catch-up farm here for Omega to fall back to, and there's no forward vision yet for Motivate Trust to cut that off. So I think for MTG, they've got to watch the stacks coming through. They've got to have it in their mind that with a Tinker up, those stacks are fairly easy to clear out once levels are up.
They are. Top lane Prince in danger, but Zenki gonna be there with the cookie. Q thought about going a little bit further, but just didn't have the Sakuchi available at the time. The end Prince gonna be salved up, and we'll be able to reset just fine in this top lane. And apart from that first blood that occurs there for Prince, it does seem like Masros is having a very good time on the Spirit Breaker. 26 and 8 in terms of last hits. He really hasn't struggled whatsoever. And again, they get first blood onto Q, but Masros having this good of a time against a Snapfire Ursa, I mean, you've got to be satisfied with that.
You're feeling good. You're going to hit your level 6 spike on Spirit Breaker soon, and that's when the aggression can really kick in. You're not being punished for having a bit of a slower laning duo, right? You've got the Weaver up. The synergy with Spirit Breaker is not amazing beyond just the minus armor and the mobility you have on hand, so you are still getting a lot there from Motivate Trust. For the side of Omega, I don't think they mind too much. As long as Prince still builds up, you're okay. If you're going to hit your diffusal timing fairly well, you're getting some good EXP for Zenki as well for a pause 5. So the kisses are going to be up in a timely fashion. And once that kisses line up with a Ravage on Van, you can look for the bigger team fights. Although it is a bit of a concern with how little Van is getting from his lane relative to Masros. Like, he's about 6 CS behind. He's not really slowing down Jackie as well. Same thing with Prince, right? So Jackie's keeping up with the Ursa farm. And that's a bit of an issue because Medusa can flash farm a little bit faster than Ursa. Those camps are just so much easier to clear out. Omega is doing a good job of constantly blocking the triangle though, but the charge is coming through here.
Oh, Masros, he doesn't get bashed by the Roshan. Lucky him. Zenki, he's going to go down. I had the unfortunate experience the other day, John, of charging to a very important team fight. Got bashed by Roshan first hit. I get very concerned when I see a Spirit Breaker just charging through the Roshan, because Roshan, he seems to have more than 17%.
Oh yeah. Still clearing out the stacks, but the TPs are coming in to contest this.
Yeah, Prince, I mean, he's going to try, but the stacks are already gone. Fearless, he will drop for this though. So definitely not too bad of a trade there. Van will take the kill on the Tide, and in the meantime, they're even going to find Q. So you lose the stacks, but you get 2 kills out of it, one on the mid puck. It really doesn't seem that bad.
No, it's not bad for either side. It's still a good chunk of gold coming out from Motivate. but Piols finding the kill, making it in time, so makes it worthwhile for Omega, as they will still be able to keep farming up in the lower camps, still build up on that Tinker. Piols, yeah, he's at that point with level 7, with a Keen Conveyance up. He's just rushing a Blink. So once you've got that Blink on your Tinker, you can take much more aggressive postures on the map. You can join some fights, you can farm a bit safer, blinking into the tree line, and just constantly building up. Motivate, though, they're starting to get a bit more of a grip on the map. They drop some forward wards, they're keeping track of the triangle, they spot out the Ancient stack as well. And that's something that Omega can't afford to give out, so at some point Motivate can look to run up there, but they don't have a clear angle to do so yet, which is to the benefit of Omega. Still a really even game so far from the laning phase, 3-4, slight lead for Omega, but you are still finding really good farm in Jackie, and Fearless has been building up on his puck. So, you know, it's still kind of swinging both ways, but you have to remember the spikes for Motivate are a little bit earlier with their 4 heroes, and they're just going to keep leveraging this charge for vision.
Oh, I got him that time. I knew it was coming, Masteros. He'll get bashed by the Roshan. Hey, you fool Roshan once, Sean. You can't fool him twice. He'll get you.
Yeah, he finds you in the end, but they managed to still use that space mid. Tombstone cutting off the defense for now. They will get Van to TP in. He still has Ravage, but not quite the mana. Can't quite force a big fight. They will hold on to mid. It's down to half HP though. So Motivate Trust has done a good job of just constantly poking that objective, and Omega has to be careful. They can't afford to bleed that one out all too early here.
Things are still going well, though. I mean, just a very even game between these two teams, and you pointed out Jackie, and he should be able to flash farm on the... In fact, hold that thought, because Piols now has been caught out by his tier 2 tower. They do have Dream Coil, but they won't commit quite yet. In fact, now they might be in danger. Fearless, he does get Earth spiked up, but they already committed the Hex. I suppose for Omega, keeping that Tinker alive is much more important than securing the kill onto Fearless anyway. Piols, he still has a while to grow and be that real nuisance Tinker that we're used to seeing, so at least a little bit more till he has the blink up, and then he can get a little bit more aggressive.
And that's the point where, of course, our Tinker just gets so much more presence in these engagements. This kind of back and forth is opening up a lot of space for the pause ones, as you're seeing in the net for it. Prince #1 right now, slightly ahead of Jackie, but Jackie's Sedusa. Now, he holds a lane, he clears out, he's got maxed out Split Shot, maxed out Mystic Snake, so wave clearing's a lot faster for Medusa. Eventually, this back and forth might favor Jackie in terms of net worth, but the Ursa getting some early timings can be very scary. Like the Diffusal coming through here for Prince is going to be really big. You'll melt through the Medusa's shield if she does show up. You'll get control with the Inhibit coming out with the slow. So I think it's to the benefit of Omega to get this free farm for Prince, because he's going to be able to show up a lot faster than Jackie can. And for Jackie, sure, he doesn't need to show up, but he will have to play 4 versus 5 against these pretty well-farmed heroes on Omega relatively soon.
Piols just farming the Ancient stacks now. You're gonna love this laser bouncing garbage. Just doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, the Tinker players, they love it. They love this kind of crap. Piols. The beauty is, John, he's smoked, so the Ancients never wake up either. You know?
Oh yeah.
These Tinker players, they always find those small little tricks to get even more of it, become even more of a nuisance.
Yep, and that's going to be his blink goal. They do trade their top tier 1, as they didn't commit for the defense. They are instead looking to posture for that bot tier 1 here for Omega. They do drag down Prince as well. Diffusal flying in, so a bit of a spike again for Ursa, and Van is still holding on to Ravage. They can force a bit of a fast team fight, and once more with the blink up and Piols, he can just join in. Apply that pressure, spam out the laser, spam out the rockets. The charge will come out for some vision. I don't know if MTG can really commit for the full defense with just 2 heroes, but they will go push mid. So that mid tier 1 might fall in exchange for that bot tier 1 here.
They're TPing, they're gonna try and fight. Fearless, he's got the coil up along with the Veil of Discord. Charges there on the Ursa. There's your initiation. Coil's committed as well. All out. Have they got anyone though? There's your Ravage being committed to keep Prince safe, as now they'll turn back onto Q. They'll find one. Motivate, they're not backing off quite yet. Piols is here though, they've got to be very cautious, as now Van, he's just frontlining for the team. Masteros gets hexed up, Mortimer's Kiss is in, he never got the bulldoze off. So that status resist just never came in. If you've got a delayed team fight like that against the Tinker, you are probably going to lose in the end.
Nah, it's just so much damage the Tinker does in such a wide area over time. Like, you can't take that sustained sort of fight. They will find a bot tier 1 here on Omega side. The benefit here for Motivate Trust is they already found a mid. So Jackie managed to get that solo push by himself. The Dusa is building up to the point where it is kind of ahead of the Ursa by 1k gold. Not a big amount, but it is sort of ramping up. The triangle is very well protected from Motivate Trust. With a mid tier 1 missing as well, it's going to be a bit harder for Omega to invade that area. And Jackie has a good spot to farm up. So you are securing your Deuce's farm. I don't think Motivate Trust needed to take that bot fight. They took a massive risk by jumping in and just didn't manage to lock in the Ursa, to lock in the Tinker. They got caught out in the Ravage as well. So Omega just managing to make that work. They do take the kill lead, 3-6, but the net worth is still in Motivate Trust's favor. But that is only on Jackie. So you have to kind of find a way to keep that gold flowing, especially on a Spirit Breaker. I think Spirit Breaker is one of those heroes that is deceptively farm heavy, if you think about it, right? Like, you need a Shadow Blade to get that presence out, you need a BKB, and down the line you'll need Ags as well, right? For that great presence with a charge, for the BKB piercing of that spell as well, you're going to need some farm. So some gold has to flow out to these other heroes and Motivate Trust at some point. For now, it's all in on Jackie. Let's see if they'll be able to get some space out for the other cores down the line.
Yeah, I agree about the sentiment with the Spirit Breaker. I mean, it is one of those more farm-heavy heroes to go for, especially in this current meta. But once you get to the stage where you do have the Axe up, there is no more of a broken hero than this SB, I'll tell you. It just becomes ridiculous, as now they found Prince and Hero. And Zenki, he's going to try and run Masaros. Oh, he doesn't get the hit off. We'll never know if that was a bash or not, but I believe it wasn't.
No.
But going back to my point, John, once the Aghanim Scepter is available on this Spirit Break, it feels like the team fight's become impossible after that, because you've just got this constant just charging over and over again throughout the team fights, throughout the whole team. And Masaros, obviously, he's opted to go for the Shadow Blade first to have some actual kill potential here on this breaker, but I think he might skip the BKB and go for Ags. I mean, right now he has the BKB queued up. We'll see if he commits to it.
I feel like he will need a BKB if he's trying to jump, say, the Tinker. And there's still a lot of good hold against that Spirit Breaker with a Hex on the line. Even a Cookie and a Ravage can kind of help you out there. So there are some ways to protect the Tinker here as long as he's around some allied heroes. So I think that spell immunity is going to be very important for Masaros to keep that early aggression up and then kind of switch to the Ags online. It's just a tempo buildup, right? They know they're going to be playing for the long game, so you need to buy space for that long game for the Dusa, and it's going to be down to the Spirit Breaker getting some early items up to maintain presence. So I think he's going to have to stick to that. With a Shadow Blade up, though, he's gotten even more presence, right? Like, you can charge safely, true, without being revealed as long as there are no sentries around. The coverage of Omega in terms of sentries isn't amazing yet. They will look to play with a smoke here on Omega's side. They've got Ravage back up, no blink on Van, so it can be a bit tough initiating, but they've got that Tinker jumping around here. There's some good damage to work with on Omega.
Yeah, Diffusal Blade up on Prince, so a bit of a power spike now as they are going to run into Q, but he'll secure Chi away. Motivate, not looking like they're willing to take a fight, but Jackie is going to stick around as now Van try and chase down Set Zero, but there's your Tombstone being dropped. Van, he still has the Ravage, so he'll go after that Tombstone first, and the Mortimer's Kisses are going to take care of the Undying, though in the meantime, they found the Tinker. Where's the Ravage? He's still hitting the Tombstone, Van. I mean, they get Fearless anyway, so it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the mids. Zenki will drop to Q to boot. And I suppose the patience does get rewarded in the end, is they won't have to use that big ulti.
Yeah, it's still a bit painful losing your Tinker, though. Like, you want that build up on that hero. You want to hit that Ags timing as well for Peels. So having him drop there, being isolated from the rest of your team is tough. And that does show them the Shadow Blade. That should mean we're going to see more sentry coverage coming through from Omega. And maybe more emphasis on actually keeping themselves within a good distance to that Tinker. Because you've got to kind of... Your Peels is not caught out to really have that prolonged advantage. Masaros again with the charge, though.
Yep, gone straight into Zenki, but they've got sentry wards around. They know it's coming. Now Prince might just try to turn onto set 0. He'll get the untying. Cookie not going to be on the mark, but he can keep trying for this chase. Because again, they have the Ravage, so they're more than happy to force a big team fight. In fact, they found another. Q, he's going to try and go onto the Lion. They'll get one. Mazeros, he'll go into the Snapfire now. They'll find another. There's your Ravage, but where's the follow-up? They do at least get Fearless down, and now maybe Q as well. But he'll time-lapse away, back the other way. Jackie, he's around to try and help out. He'll try, but the rocket spam has begun. And with that, they will not want to fight too much longer, as Q barely gets out with his life intact. Mazeros will charge down to the bot lane. The only man to drop here for Motivate is going to be Fearless.
Yeah, they still managed to get a support trade from it, but dropping your puck is also not to the benefit of Motivate Trust, so Omega is still going to be decently happy about it. They're sending collapse down bot.
A nice Hex initiation. It's very hard to get away from that as a Spirit Breaker if you're not predicting it with the bulldoze, and well, naturally they had no vision to see Hero running in like that. You are indeed correct, John. It does seem like they are going to try and go for the BKB up first, and well, I suppose seeing that happen to him against the Lion, you probably need it at this point. Seems like Omega, they are well and truly aware of how to play against this offlane Spirit Breaker.
Yeah. I think there's just no going around it for Mazeros. Needs a BKB up, needs to be able to maintain the presence, and without that spell immunity, it's very tough. The side of Omega are still lagging behind net worth though. Jackie has been using the space to great effect. About a 3k net worth lead for the Deuce now. That can be a major item as it builds up. Scotty coming through next for Jackie. And he hasn't been contested. His laning phase went okay. His triangle is still basically uncontested from Omega. And I think that can be an issue. Sure, you're finding some of these skirmish wins for Smart Omega, but Motivate Trust still have this big ace up their sleeve with the Dusa, and you're not quite keeping up in farm as you'd want. Like, the Tinker kind of wants to be a bit further ahead than this right now. The Ags is still on its way. It's almost done, so that's some good news for Omega right there. But you have to be careful about giving too much space to Jackie. We've seen teams do this before. They're winning fights, but they're leaving alone Jackie's hero. He just kind of becomes way too big once he does join in later on.
Eventually. Part of the plan for Motivate, I suppose, is Jackie has just been untouched this whole game. He's 0-0-0. 286 last hits, so literally no impact so far. Zvan, oh, they're gonna just wait out this Weaver initiation, and they are gonna punish Q immediately. Zenki will be able to secure the kill on the Snapfire. And Omega, they're the ones that need to try and make a play, and they are gonna smoke up as 3. Maybe head to that mid lane where they do spot Jackie. But he's already at the point where he's almost got the Eye of Skadi up. So he's really not that squishy of a target to burst down anymore. But I suppose if you get the disables off, you'll have enough, as now Mazeros, this time around, is going to have the bulldoze. So is going to be able to escape. In the meantime, though, there's the eggs up on peels. So things get extremely annoying now if you are Motivate Trust.
Yeah, that's the big spike that we were looking for. So you've got to deal it with the Shrink Ray on the laser. Much more damage coming through with the HP reduction as well. Kind of acting like their own undying effect there. So Motivate Trust going to be smoking up here. Could kind of sneak out a Roshan. Surprised Omega hasn't gone for that yet. They won't. And Jackie is out of smoke, so he's walking directly under vision. Van does have a Ravage with the blink, but they are going to play it safe here on Omega for now.
Van's just being very patient here and just waiting for that right opportunity. They won't throw it onto Q. And that's just complete bait here from Motivate. Another smoke up. Hero, he's in position to try and make the jump in onto the puck. And that'll be the target they want. But now Jackie's shown up as well. So they're going to really try and force this fight. Van. Tombstone will be forced down here thanks to Van, but that is still going to create even more time and space for Jackie to keep going onto this tier 2 top tower. The problem is you are still against the Tinker. Like, Fearless is going to find them. Does get the Dream Call off, and here comes the chant. They really want PL's dead, but they've got Fearless trapped up now. Stun is there, Cookie to follow up, and Fearless is going to drop. Charge is still going here onto the Tinker, but Mazeros, he was way too far away. He'll keep trying, but does he have the damage? I don't think he will. PLs? No, he will eventually go down Q. Able to pick up the kill on the Weaver, but it's going to cost them a lot of bodies. Triple kill the way of Prince. I suppose on the bright side, they got the tier 2 top tower, and that does open up the outpost. That's a lot of golden XP you gave back the way of the Ursa, though, and he's going straight for that Roshan.
It's a bit of a late time for the Ursa on the Roche. Still going to be a big objective to take. Mind you, Motivate Trust, looks like Jackie might be able to spot it out with the illusion. They are aware, but they don't have to hear us contest. Still, Roche not melting as fast as you'd want. Respawns are going to be back up. Fearless is back up. No Dream Coil yet. Can be a bit hard to try to play for Snatch there, but Jackie's running in.
Yeah, I mean, Iron Sky is available, and Stone Gaze was up, so he wants to try and deny this. So that's why they were going after that top tier 2 tower, is to try and take the outpost and steal the Roshan here for Motivate. Omega trying to just take the Roshan before that outpost is taken away from them. Charge in, they're going to find the Snapfire, but no real committal quite yet. The Dream Coil is now back up for Fearless. In the meantime, though, you've got to get rid of this Tinker. And they know PLs is going to be way too big of an issue if they leave him be. You need that big charge out, you need the follow-up. You can't allow Fearless to die for free like that again, just trying to chase down this Tinker. I suppose now with the Yules up, he is going to be a little bit more slippery on this puck. But Prince, he still wants to try and force this. Charges out from Masros to give some vision, but of course it is going to be cancelled. And Motivate, they have successfully delayed the Roshan time.
Yeah, it's not going to be safe for Omega to take. We know that Motivate Trust are willing to toss their bodies forward, and there's some back and forth team fight there. I think for Motivate Trust, of course, they've got that Stone Gaze, they've got the Dream Coil. Although Stone Gaze is still down for 10 seconds, they will smoke. They kind of want to look for a pick off first, but they're going to have to climb up onto the high ground.
Unless...
maybe just sneak the Roshan.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say, John. Why not just sneak the Roshan? They have no idea this is happening, Omega. They've got to check Van. Oh, he's too late. He went for the double damage rune, and now he realizes as Masros going to charge right in onto the Tide. Earth spikes off the mark, but they won't go any further. Motivate, they don't really have the catch right now. They don't really have the options for the catch. They got the Aegis though. And denying that away from Omega just means more time that Jackie can just grow this net worth lead. And he's already 5k ahead of Prince, so you give him 600 gold more, he's going to have the Ags up, and then it just becomes impossible.
Oh yeah, that's a scary point. Once the Ags is there, once that stone form is flying around with a Mystic Snake, your Earth is going to have some major kiting issues in the front line. You can kind of play against that, but all the stat resist you have with the S and Y and with the Enrage, but it's still a tough game for the Ursa, and that's where he kind of falls flat. Once you can ensure that the Ursa can't actually jump anyone, you can kind of easily manage him. You also get this Ags timing on Q, so time lapse is there to protect Jackie, and Deuce is one of the best here to kind of time lapse back because she has a lot of durability to play with. So there's a lot that you can bring out here because you reset her HP and mana pool, and having that Aegis up, it's going to be so tough to actually focus down Jackie. You have to jump Q first to clean up these fights. And for Omega, they just haven't been able to get those good jumps in their own terms. They've always been counterfighting here.
Hero's got some great wards down here, John. He just barely found Masros, who was Invis Shadowbladed up, and well, PL's going to try and bait Masros forward, and never mind Hero. He's found the target they wanted. But the problem is you've got to react to this mid-tier 2 tower push now. So a great start here for Omega. They'd love to try and force a fight right now, but they may not have time to get there, and it looks like they will not. So Jackie, he will freely take that tier 2 mid, and I honestly can't say it's really worth for Omega.
No, it opens up an avenue for the high ground on Motivate Trust. And sure, you're killing off Masro, stalling out the Ags timing, but you don't really get much from that kill. They can't push tier 2 of their own on the side of Omega. They're forced to react to the shove-in, and for Motivate Trust, they still have Aegis for a bit longer. They will smoke his tree. They could look for a bit of a pick-off. Maybe catch a Tinker off guard if they do manage to get a good position here, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to find anything big just yet. No forward vision for Motivate Trust in the triangle. There's no real angles to get, but they are showing Hero on the off lane. Will manage to run out in time, so smoke doesn't amount to much, but that lead from Motivate Trust just keeps building up. The Medusa is still a massive issue. Going straight for the MKB next, just so that the laser won't do as much in terms of mischance. So Jackie's just going to be able to ignore the laser down the line, even when the Mantis expanded, and still do the damage he wants to in front. And also has the Ag chart up. So you've got the bouncing back Mystic Snake with the Ags upgrade. So much stone form. Not going to be easy for the Ursa to just stand there and fight.
That's a very tough position now, again, for Omega. They're setting up. They'll get started, but all they can do is just hope to chip away at Jackie's HP pool. He won't care. He just continues. Onto the bot tier 2 is Omega. They are going to loop around all the way at the back. Try to surprise them. Find those supports first. Motivate, though, still just hanging in the tree line with perfect vision on this high ground. Could be a pretty detrimental start here for Omega. Who have they made the jump on? Nobody quite yet. They know it's not favorable. They've got to back out. Motivate, they're having a look, though. Jackie, he's going to find Van. Jackie alone right now. Again, they just can't make the jump on the Deucer, even as 5. The Stone Gaze is just going to put a stop to all of it. And they're just unable to find the jump. I mean, Jackie can just walk in freely. They can't kill him. They have to go for the back instead, and they found one. Set Zero's down. Piols is going to blink away as now Hero will be focused down. Jackie will take care of that one, no problem. In the meantime, Prince, he has been scouted out. Ravage is there, though. They'll hold down 2. They'll burst down Masteros. Can they find the rest, though? Stone Gaze is out. Jackie, he wants Piols down on that Tinker, but he's going to haste rune. Never mind, he doesn't. He will drop eventually. He almost found Q, but not quite enough. Prince, he does at least get a dieback on the Undying. Has found a triple kill on the Ursa. But again, they haven't found the main target they really wanted.
No, they just can't isolate Jackie, can't do the damage onto him. And Motivate Trust are going to be happy with that trade. 3 for 2, counting the dieback. At the same time, you save your juicing, you kill off the Tinker, you stall out the saving items for Tinker, which is going to be the Yules here. So it's going to be tough for Piols without that sort of combo breaker on hand. Just Yulesing out with the Mystic Snake, Yulesing out with Silence is so important for the Tinker. And it is almost up, so you will get that spike on your Tinker soon. But the question is really, how do you manage to do stuff? Jackie, MKB is almost done. Not looking to further the stats, just further the damage output. It will start to skyrocket. Presence of Prince is still good, but he just doesn't have the angle to focus on Deuce fight. You just can't stand there and do what you want. Maybe once the Satanic is finished up, with a self-dispel, it gives you more options with your Enrage. And it is almost up, so Prince is going to hit a really good spike with that item build-up as well. They just need a patience here. Double damage does spawn on mid, neither side really spotting it out yet, and that Yules is done on Tinker, so he can play it a bit more aggressive. He blinked Yules, then kind of blink out again, and with these fights and kind of stall out as much as possible, playing on the back line.
Makes the jump in on Fearless, baiting him in with that double damage rune, but the Yules was there. It's the one thing for Piols, right? Like this Tinker, it's a really tough game. Every item he gets, it seems nice, but the problem is you have so many angles that you can approach this Tinker from. And speaking of, well, Masteros, he's not going to quite find the Tinker, but he did find Van. Problem is Kraken Shell. We'll just purge off the stuns, and Van will walk away freely. But back to my point shot. For Piols, he's got to worry about the puck, he's got to worry about the Weaver, he's got to be worried about Masteros on the Spirit Breaker, and of course, with the Mystic Snake petrifying him now as well with the Ags, he's going to be worried about that. It's just not an easy Tinker game whatsoever.
Definitely isn't. I suppose he can kind of protect himself a little bit more if he can use the defense matrix before he's stunned, so he has a bit more of a window with a 50% stat resist. I'm actually curious how much stat resist Prince gets when he does get defense matrix on. With the SNY and when he pops on Enrage, that should be a lot. I think it's multiplicative, so it's not as much as you'd expect. Maybe it hits around 80%. And it's still a ton. Like, you can't actually lock in these heroes if you manage to get that defense matrix off and It's not the priority spell for PLs to use, but I think in this game, it has to be. Like, you have to be able to save yourself and your teammates. You have to ensure your Ursa's just not going to be stun locked in front, and that you're not just stun locked in front. And they haven't found a way of doing that yet. Playing super safe. It still really benefits Motivate Trust to play at a slower pace, as Jackie's just ridiculous. MKB up, pretty much fully slotted. Could go for the Hurricane Pike upgrade and ditch the boots for something else. Maybe a Satanic to just stay in the front line if he feels like he needs it. Or just go for a Daedalus for more damage. You could kind of hit that point now. And for Omega, I mean, it's still slow going for Prince. He's also going for his own MKB. I'm not sure if that's necessary. Maybe he's expecting a butterfly on Jackie at some point. But Jackie has not queued one up yet, so could be a expensive item to commit to if there's no counter for it. Still charge?
Not going to lead to much. I mean, the MKB is going to at least help with Jackie's level 10 talent. He does have the 15% evasion. So you've got some evasion that I'm sure is going to be very annoying for the Ursa. So Prince, you know, the damage doesn't hurt too much either, I think. He needs everything he can get right now. The thing is, it's not really a problem of the Ursa, I don't think. It's a problem of actually just deleting everyone else around Jackie and being able to focus down the Medusa in the air, which we just haven't seen yet. So obviously a lot easier said than done, but that's kind of what you need to do. Jackie needs to be the last man standing, and then you can just kind of focus down the Medusa. But they just can't do that right now because everyone else on Motivate just so slippery, apart from maybe the Undying.
That they are. I think for Omega, the key here to pick off first is actually Q. Like, you have to take care of the Weaver, remove the time lapse as a factor. But Q is always playing so far from back, and they're just running forward with a Spirit Breaker instead and with a puck. That makes it really hard to ensure that the second life doesn't come through for most of these heroes. Still, smoke coming out here on Omega's side. Try to find what they can. Still a bit blind. They trust playing on the right side of the jungle, holding the high ground, so they've got the vision advantage.
Well, they thought they were roaching, but they were wrong. Tombstone, it's going to be dropped on the high ground. They've already found that Snapfire out of position. In the meantime, Jackie, he's going to try and go onto Hero. They found the Lion. Big Ravage on the high ground, but they missed Fearless. He phase shifted it off. That's going to mean Zenki goes down on the Snapfire. Prince, he's just going to try and run. They are just controlling and kiting him up. Eventually, he will get away with the Enrage, but Jackie, he's going to have his way with Van now. The Snapfire kisses are coming in, but they're really doing nothing. Jackie's still full mana. Prince, he's still trying, but the charge is right through from Masaros. And Masaros is on an Ultra, trying for a Rampage. Jackie, he will give it away. Masaros, he'll take it himself. Rampage up for the Spirit Breaker, as now they can just go for more. A big cleanup on the way is another nice charge out from Masaros onto PLs. That'll be a Tinker gone. Van and Zenki trying to get their way out. A double Rampage out for Masaros. I'll tell you, Don, you might want to call it. This game is well and truly over. I don't think there's any coming back from this game number 1 here against Motivate.
Yeah, it's a toughie. I think Omega and Tinker pick looked good, then Spirit Breaker came out. They didn't ban it out, so they had a way of just jumping to Tinker every time. They were very well protected with the Weaver down as well. There were just so many targets Omega had to jump first, and they just couldn't. They had to take care of the Weaver, they had to take care of the puck, they have to always be wary of the Spirit Breaker. There's just too much to track. And it's very difficult for Omega to juggle that around. Even if your Ursa could jump in as well, he's very easily kiteable with the Ags Dusa build. We just had a counter for it on Motivate Trust side. So they take one set of racks, they'll take another. They could go for the full Mega Creeps, but we'll see if they commit. Respawns are coming up soon. No Ravage. Makes this a lot easier though. Looks like they will just play it safe. Take 2 racks, reset. Roshan is back up. Rosh number 2 with the Ag Shard and Aegis. So they can just kind of jump in there for real, take it, knowing there's no Ravage, and go high ground again.
Nothing to stop them now. Who they give the shards over to. I guess at this point it doesn't really matter who gets it. In fact, it might just be Masaros. He gets... No, he already has one. Never mind. Who wants it? They literally just left it. Fearless? He'll go back for it himself.
Yeah. So he's got that Waning Rift upgrade with pushback. A little bit of damage coming through, and the invis reveal. Very nice coming through, like a handy dust. So that kind of frees up his dust slot in these fights. Still 21k lead for Motivated Trust. Bouncing back after that last series in strong form. Omega still have high ground to play for. With her Tinker, that can be a factor. It's not like it's particularly amazing though, right? You know, you don't have the march of the machines constantly flying out anymore. Even if you go for the shard, it's not as strong as it once was. So you are relying more on just clearing out with the laser. It just kind of feels limited right now for the side of Omega. So many tools on Motivate. They've got the blink up on Jackie flying out. He's going for the Swift blink as well, the upgrade. I think he has the gold to buy it out if he wants to. So you can just instantly have that added attack speed, more mobility on hand. How do you kill the Dusa? Like, you just can't.
I haven't had an answer to that question for the last 15-20 minutes, John. So Van blinks aggressively. It just... that's about all he's doing. Even with all this rocket and laser spam, it's slowly chipping away Jackie's HP, but, you know, not quite enough to really be concerned, I'd say. Just continues to spam out Mystic Snakes over and over again. Hero, he's going to delay a little bit with the Hex out, but the Dream Coil's there. They only got Van on the Tidehunter, but Masteros, he's right in. Onto the backside, he's already got Hero down. Prince, he's going to try. He might get the first life here from Jackie, but no, the time lapse is out. Jackie gets a little bit of a reset, but will die once. Meanwhile, Omega, who else do they go for? Well, the answer is nobody. They'll be happy with the Aegis for now. They'll go back to the Fountain, reset and try again. Problem is, Megas are coming, so they're going to make the jump in and they go with the Ravager. Lasers being spammed out as well, but the BKB is going to be there from Jackie, and now the cleanup gets started. He's already taken down one, make it two, make it three, and maybe make it four. As PLs, he's trapped up in the tree line. That's a full team wipe, and the GG has been called. Omega, they tried, but there was no really taking down this Medusa.
No, they had an interesting idea here from Omega in this first game for us. They had this really nice Tinker pick. It looked nice until the Spirit Breaker came out, and then all the answers were there for Motivate Trust.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick. Elder Titan. Ten seconds remaining.
I think Omega, if they're going to go for something like the Tinker, they can't afford to kind of pick it early. It has to be like a last phase pick, just because it's kind of counteracted. Like we saw the Spirit Breaker coming out from Masaros. Just take control. Even if Tinker hit its spikes, it was always kind of scouted out. They do protect themselves from the Weaver support. They banned that out on Omega's end. We've got to see it. Like, they can't afford to let Jackie keep farming. I think it boiled down to playstyle. They ignored the triangle area completely, allowed the Medusa to keep farming up, and it just overtook the game. It had a lot of protection coming in. They could always front line with Spirit Breaker charging the Tinker first, and Omega couldn't respond to everything coming out from Motivate Trust at that point. So just preventing Jackie from farming seems to be the answer for a lot of teams dealing with Motivate Trust. We'll see if Omega does adjust in this game. You have the initial draft coming true, Elder Titan coming out from Omega, setting themselves up with a strong support, maybe an off-lane flex here for Van. It's also open to that as well, as we have seen a couple of off-lane Elder Titans coming true. For Motivate Trust, Snapfire Mars, strong combination. They've got double stuns there. They can play with Arena Kisses, the classic combination for these heroes, and just kind of take control in team fights that way. Omega do go back to the Tidehunter. Still flexible. You could still run that on Van offlane, but you could also run it on Pause 5 here and give Van the Elder Titan instead. So very open in what they want to do. They've got their own team fight now from Omega. And, you know, Van was landing some decent Ravages last time, but it felt like he was very withdrawn with that use. It was almost every single time it was like counter-initiation Ravages, not their own jump-in Ravage to start with. So I think I want to see Omega take initiative with that hero, especially once the blink is up. They've got to set the terms of these fights themselves.
5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Dire team, Radiant team pick.
Lena. 10 seconds remaining.
5 seconds remaining.
Absolutely. And you know what else, Mike? Motivate Trust with Lina. You see those heroes? They're all red. Going for the red hero strat here on Motivate Trust for now. I don't know if you have anything to follow up within red here, though, so it probably ends there. But still looking good. As you mentioned, Lina mid can scale into the late game. Holds the mid really well. Most matchups just favor the Lina. I don't think we really see in a matchup not favor Lina at all. So you should still be able to get a grip there. Farm up, take control, hit a good early spike, and set the terms from there. Omega, kind of counteracting what Jackie did. They go with their own farm-heavy here with Luna. So they can kind of sit back, keep building up, and keep hitting some item spikes in the hero. Even if the game goes slow, the Luna now can trade farm with Dusa, or with anything that kind of farms big for Motivate Trust, because the Dusa's not there. So they have someone that can keep up with Jackie, which is the key thing, because we kind of saw Prince not really keep up. I mean, he was playing Ursa, so he just couldn't farm as fast as Sedusa, and he was showing up a bit earlier to these fights. The Luna can sit back, not have to join in. The rest of the team can kind of take care of that, and the Luna can just focus on farm. So I like that kind of shakeup for Omega. They go into the Rubik here as well. Lots of great spells to steal. The Mars spells are all good. The Spear could be really impactful with the added range you have. The Cookie, the Kisses, even the Scatter Blast to an extent. And the Little Shredder can be useful. And of course, the Lina spells are there as well. Laguna, not the hardest spell to steal, so that burst could be good. Motivate Trust, go into the Face's Void. So they've got the Chrono Kisses. Chrono with Lina standing outside. They do have the damage to play in the Chrono. In this case, I'm not too against the Void. I think you have the draft to make it work, because you've got a Snap to kiss in. You've got a Lina to hit inside. So the Void isn't pressured to have the damage on him. You could just hyper farm on Fearless or have him hit that Shadow Blade into Silver Edge timing and do the damage himself. So I think that relieves a lot of pressure on Face's Void to actually set these fights himself, and he can kind of take a back seat almost, just kind of get value Chronos for control, run from there. Of course, there's a back and forth here now, Mike. With Void versus Tide, we used to see this a lot in BTS Pro Series 3 or 4, where it's a matter of who gets to pop what first and who gets caught in what first. So if you don't Chrono Tide, Ravage is there. At the same time, if you Chrono Tide, you're kind of winning. So there's a back and forth. There is some counterplay for Omega to kind of use for their own advantage. But I think Motivate Trust is starting to look a bit stronger. Their team fight is pretty insane on hand. At the least, even outside Tide, you've got Elder Titan with Stomp. So if ET keeps his distance, gets the Spirit off, with no BKB and Face's Void, that Chrono could still be wasted.
Seconds remaining. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
No.
Choose your hero.
Yeah, in a way. I actually prefer Motivate Trust. I think when you do get a draft that favors the Faceless Void, when you give it damage outside with heroes that can play inside of Chrono, it feels really good. There is still that issue of Chrono being a really long spell, so early on, you're not going to be able to rely on it too much for team fights, but you've got the Mars Snap anyway. You've got Arena Kisses coming through. You've got the grip from the Bane to kind of take control of something like the Puck, which is going to be annoying. And I think they've got all the tools on hand to make their draft work. For Omega, there is counterplay. You've got the Elder Titan to break up Chrono. You've got the Stomp, along with the Earth Splitter that can rip through. You've got Ravage from outside if you don't catch Tide. And you have the Rubik to steal some pretty big spells, especially Bane. If the Fiend script goes off and Rubik sees it, he gets a better Fiend script himself. So that is something that Omega can play with. Overall, though, I think when it comes down to execution, Motivate Trust has an easier path towards getting all their spells off in the right usage. Fair enough. Fair enough. We didn't see the greatest impact there from Prince last time, so I can understand that point coming in. Still, should be a much more interesting game. Again, if you look at the drafts, Mike, right, it's very different from what we've seen from a lot of teams. So both Omega and Motivate Trust going a bit left field for these two games, but we'll see how the execution does pull off. It should be a little bit better for Omega compared to game one, because as you mentioned, P-Alls can make plays for his team now. He's not reliant on farming up to hit Hag's timings and all that silly nonsense. He just needs to hit level 6, hit phase boots or travels maybe if you want that, and even a fast ult if you need a setup or protection, and just kind of run from there. You are seeing everyone in high spirits though. You know, Zenki and Set Zero having a good time getting tips off. I don't know why Zenki's upset about the tip from Q onto Hero though. Like,
well, I mean, he lost game one.
Sad.
I don't think he's happy. Poor old Zenki. I said Zero, he'll give the high five back to PLs, but he does get a right click in beforehand. Very, very cheap kind of play there from Albane. He's under vision right now. They will place a ward there from Fearless, and not actually sure if that was spotted out because Fearless was behind the tree line, so he was out of vision when he placed the ward. And judging by the pings that came out, it seems to be that Omega think it's on the cliff here.
Yeah, I think it's fairly secure for Motivate. Again, he was hiding behind a tree line, so I don't think the vision ripped through, and that should be safe. A bit of a scuffle over these runes, though, but doesn't look like heavy commitment from either side. But they might be able to snag an extra one with Jackie.
Yeah, that they do. Jackie, he doesn't even need to skill up Time Walk right now. Definitely could do so if he feels the need for it, but we'll just be able to walk away after one right click from Van. And while we're here, we'll talk about the top lane. Of course, Van is going to be there on the Tide along with Hero. So you've got the standard Rubik Tide combo in the off lane. It's going to be against Set Zero and Jackie in that top lane and safe lane of Motivate Trust. In theory, this lane should be quite dominant from Omega. Because again, there is still the outplay potential here from Motivate. But you'd imagine that Van and Hero should have the advantage just based off the Hero matchups.
Yeah, you just run up, use Anchor Smash, get the Fade Bolt off, and Jackie suddenly can't last hit. So it's going to be a bit tough for Jackie to build up, but he's not struggling so far yet. And they didn't manage to stagger their spell use. They're just kind of, or stack their spell use. They're kind of staggering it to get the longer duration off. For Set Zero, Bane can trade with Rubik quite nicely. You know, he can kind of win out with a Brain Sap up, as we've seen time and time again. But I don't think you're going to be setting up to be too aggressive here. With a Faceless Void, you tend to play a slower lane. The emphasis will just be on farm. Jackie is just going to look for that steady build-up, and Setzer is doing that fine.
Yeah, in the meantime, bot lane, Masaros, he ends up going down for First Blood, and I swear every First Blood tonight has been down at the bot lane. I feel like this is the lane we've got to start talking about at the beginning of the game, as the Prince takes the First Blood on the Luna, so he has a fantastic start already. Masaros off to a pretty rough start for himself, but Q, he wasn't really able to help out this time. So you can't blame the support, Masaros. He just got caught with his pants down, and eventually Omega just kind of punished him for it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough start, right? Like, you're having to deal with that Elder Titan early on. He can provide a lot for that spirit, so you can just kind of go through, rip through that early levels on the Mars. But for the side of Motivate Trust, they just kind of need some level spikes. Level 2 is already a pretty good point. You've got the Cookie Scatter Blast ready on Q, so you can kind of line up for Prince. They're not... He is alone right now with no creep wave, so he has to be a bit cautious, but it looks like Masaros does want the last hits more. They're not going to make use of that space. Still a good start for Omega finding that first blood. That is going to give Prince a little bit more to play with. And he's not being pressured out, so you're still fairly happy, but you will have to watch those power spikes we just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, Zenki was able to freely rotate over, secure a water rune, make sure that none goes to Fearless, and that was the case. Because top lane looks like we are going to have a bit of an issue here for Hero now. He's going to try and run. Jackie slowing him down with that level 1 time dilation, but eventually Hero is going to be able to kind of juke Jackie out. Still, they are spotted now. Set0 still trying to go for the kill, but he's been left behind. Jackie needs to go hit some creeps, so Set0, he will be left to die on his lonesome. But he's got a Fairy Fire up. He'll be okay. Scary times there for the pain. Do you know these Pos 1 players, John, they can't leave a creep wave like that. They've got to rush for it.
Yeah, they've got to go back and CSing. Still a good time for Motivate Trust considering that trade. Like we just talked about it. You don't really expect the Face's Void lane to be too aggressive, but building off a couple of bashes, you can kind of use that opening to find a lot more pressure, and it happens again, Van.
Yeah, he's not going to die, but it's just really annoying kind of poking from Motivate.
It's just that bash. It's like Spirit Breaker, right? 12%. Doesn't feel like 12%. It's on demand for Jackie. And he is having a good time in lane. 16-0 doesn't look amazing. Considering it's a Tide versus a melee hero, it's still pretty darn good. And even with a Rubik, you're really not slowing down Jackie's farm. So initial farm looking good. And that will set a good tone for Motivate Trust. Just heading back to the mid. It is slower for Fearless. So we talked about that Lina having a better matchup almost against everyone, but Piolt is making this work out great. It does boil back to that rotation from Zenki though. So without the bottle refill, it just feels a little weaker for the Lina to spam her spells out.
Bot lane, Masaros, he is going to be able to secure Prince. Look like another bad team fight here for Motivate, but finding that Luna kill at the end definitely going to make it feel a lot better. Masaros will be very satisfied with that trade. Zenki, of course, setting up a nice stomp as mid lane. Fearless, he's going to drop. Piols is in trouble. Fairy Fire, it's not going to be enough. There's going to be a trade in the mid lane, but definitely favors Piols and the puck as now top lane. They do find Set0, but Van is dropping rather low. Kraken Shell just purges off the bash pretty much immediately. So Jackie, you would have loved to see that kill on the Tide, but he just wasn't really locked down.
And we're seeing Omega really start to use their more aggressive lanes to their advantage. Like they've got a 4-2 lead. That 4th lead is still in Motivate Trust though, so they're getting more from lanes in terms of farm. And it kind of reminds me of game 1 with how that went. There was some really good aggression from Smart Omega, and this is something consistent with his lineup. Like they play this really good early game into mid game, but the late game doesn't hold up. So we'll see if that carries through here for Omega, at least in terms of getting a good laning start. Ooh, the kills are nice. But the efficiency of Motivate Trust is higher, and that is still an issue when you're playing against a Void. Like Jackie, gonna hit level 5, gonna be riding up to level 6. Level 1 Chrono doesn't feel like it's gonna be too troublesome, but that will still give them clear lockdown to kind of handle the Tide if Van is not careful. And he's gonna be playing at a level disadvantage when he heads back to that lane.
Lane, 3 heroes here from Omega. They're trying to find Fearless on that Lina, but he's going to be okay to back. Definitely scary times here for Fearless as he's clearly being focused by Omega, and in the meantime, they do find that Snapfire with the Dream Coil, but Q is going to cookie down to the low ground. Zenki is still going to be able to cut him off here and might be able to get a nice stomp, but Mastros is there to help out, and of course throws the spear out immediately, not allowing them to catch out Q. This is what we like to see. I mean, Omega, you might argue it's a little bit early from them, but they are certainly trying to get very aggressive.
It's playing to the strengths of their lineup. They do come in line fairly early. They have greater presence from their supports coming out, especially on that ET. Got good control. You just need to leverage it to get that early advantage. I think you might want to see some of that focus on Face's Void. Like if you can chain stun him down before the Chrono's up, he is a fairly easy target to go for. But they haven't really been focusing there. Just playing bot, playing mid instead, and trying to find openings to allow Pialds and Prince to keep building up. Still a really even game, 4-2. No kills being added since the last time we checked. Jackie does hit 6. The Chrono is there, but he needs some backup to make use of it. Set Zero will come up. Maybe with a Nightmare setup, they could look for the play, and even Fearless is steeping up here.
There's your Nightmare out. Still not an easy kill to get. Laguna's going to be committed. Van's still alive, is still trying to run. He's actually taking a lot of damage, but eventually will drop. No Chrono needed. Jackie, he'll hold on to it for now. Wait for another day. In the meantime, PLs, he's going to try and pressure that mid lane. Force back the side of Motivate to defend this. He's actually getting some substantial damage off. Almost half the HP of that tower already gone, but actually they will leave. Does seem like Omega are already interested in trying to get their way into that dire triangle and trying to get some vision over whether some stacks have been made. Though so far, no stacks at all. So maybe that's kind of a blessing for Motivate, because it does feel like Omega are ready at any moment to go for a big steal. No stacks to be taken though.
It feels like a correction from game one where they never contested triangle stacks. This time Omega are much more aware of it, understanding that's how Motivate Trust catch up. I don't think Motivate Trust necessarily need stacks in this game. Like Lina can clear them out, Jackie really can't. Even though he is going for the Mask of Madness build, it's still a bit slow going for Faces Void, so it doesn't feel necessary. Fearless will just settle with camps, just kind of deal with that. You're still getting good farm here.
Well, in the meantime, Jackie does end up going down. Van and PL's able to set up and get the kill. That was Ravage committed, but Dream Coil was held onto, and now Set Zero might have to experience that coil as PL's charging forward onto the Bane, but won't end up going for it. Just leave the Bane be. Mid lane, however, bit of a breakout here as Hero being chased down by Fearless, who has a haste rune up at the stomp. Is going to land, and now Prince will rotate over. I don't know if they can really hold on to this Lina. She does get the Rubik kill, but the tower hits are going to come in, and Fearless has no regen. The Hero will eventually give the tip over to the Lina. Poor old Fearless, he'll die in the most shameful way.
Oh,
Tier 1 tower. Yeah, Van though, in the meantime, also ends up going down at the top lane. So there's your Mortimer's Kisses flying out, and well, Jackie again still holds on to the Chrono. Oh, here we go again though. PLs is here. Stomp is going to connect. They've got the coil out, but he's got Chrono. He might just commit here. When he ripped out, nice lift away. They've got him. Very nice play from Omega now, just timing all their spells perfectly to ensure that he could not Chrono.
Yeah, they're doing a better job here in Omega to keep that Faceless Void in place. We talked about that earlier, Mike, where their focus was on mid and bot. They shift that focus up top. They're slowing down the Faceless Void and just preventing Jackie from hitting some early spikes and giving their Luna more room to breathe, right? Like Prince has the farm advantage, has the early Mask of Madness up ahead of the Faceless Void, will be able to handle the triangle stacks or any sort of jungle much faster than the Faceless Void can, even with his own Mask of Madness. And they can build up from there. So it's a switch of playstyle. Omega kind of want to just keep playing the build-up game on Prince. Motivate Trust might want to keep playing aggressive with the Chrono, with the Arena, with the Kisses, but they're sacrificing Jackie to kind of get some space forward. They will shift their focus bot, look for a tier 1 shove themselves. Bot tier 1 down to half HP. Shouldn't take too long with Jackie showing himself here as well. So it's going to be a tier 1 for tier 1 trade. There is the potential for Omega to switch mid though, as it is also fairly low after taking that top. So the swing around potential stronger for Omega. I think that's something Motivate Trust has to be careful about. Like, they have to be ready to commit for the defense on the mid if it does end up being a rotation to mid afterwards.
Absolutely. Bot tier 1, top tier 1, both go down. Still a very slight net worth lead here for Omega Esports. Nothing to write home about quite yet, but bot lane, Ravage is going to be committed. They found Jackie again with the Waning Rift out. They've got him. Another kill onto the Void as now Arena is going to be dropping the coils. They are snapping left, right, and center. It's not looking great for Motivate. They'll go for a grip though. In fact, with the Mortimer's Kisses, they found Hero on Van. Set Zero, however, is going to drop, but they get PLs in response. But now Prince, looking for the cleanup, does commit the Eclipse, and eventually will try and go on to Q. But the turnaround again from Motivate. So they found 4 heroes now, and they're on to their 5th. Prince is going to try and make his way out. Masteros doesn't have a great angle for a spear, but he might find one now. Still looking for it. Not going to get it. So at least they get the Luna out. But in terms of numbers, it was a 2-for-4 trade. Definitely feels like it favors Motivate Trust.
It certainly does. You still drop Jackie, but I think it goes back to that point we were talking about from Draft Mike Matt. Your win condition is not the Void, it's the Lina. So what matters the most is Fearless stays alive, Fearless gets kills, and Fearless builds up, and he is. He manages to ride through that Eclipse in the end with his move speed. Very hard to pin down when travels up on Fearless, just runs like a madman once a Fiery Soul does stack up. So your Lina is very protected from these moves, and you keep the game even. Omega still have a 9-9 kill equality here, but the network lead swings slightly towards Motivate Trust, and Fearless is getting big. Rushing to BKB next. After that, it should just be damage buildup. And once you hit that point, you can look for just Chronos to set up for your Lina to start getting some damage off. And even if Jackie died, you know, he is still farming well. He's going for the Maelstrom next. He's looking to just kind of build up damage on Chrono and build up his own farming pace. So he will be able to keep up to a certain extent with that Luna. Same thing for Prinzo. He's also going for what looks to be the BKB next to protect himself. It's just going to be a timing between that spell immunity here. Of course, the one disadvantage Omega has with building BKBs is that Chrono isn't countered by that. So you'll always have that advantage on Motivate Trust. That's the real strength of the Faceless Void, is having a spell that basically has no counterplay, especially with this draft from Omega, and they can just leverage that. Still, Motivate Trust, they smoke up into the triangle, don't really find anyone, but they use this opportunity to plant some nice wards. So they'll be able to track the farming pace of Omega down the line, but Omega themselves playing in that bot triangle could come in mid.
Yeah, they'll just commit for the Rubik. Hey, not the best kill, but it opens up that mid tier 1 tower a little bit here for Fearless to chip away at. Immediately going to force the rotation out from Van on the Tide. Make sure it doesn't take too much damage. It'll be enough for Motivate, it seems. I mean, Arena down now. I suppose they could force another fight. You've still got Mortimer's Kisses and Fiend's Grip up. With Van around with the Ravage, they probably won't try too hard as Yols almost gets caught out there on the puck, but he's able to orb away as well. Still a very close game between these two. I mean, your Luna on Omega is farming very well. Prince well and truly ahead of Jackie on that Void. This is where we kind of go back to the Void being an interesting position one to take. Just such a slow farmer in comparison to something like the Luna. And of course, you're going to get to the point where you have the Maelstrom up and you are going to be able to keep up. But by that point, it feels like this Luna should have a much bigger lead. You can see Prince done a fantastic job thus far. Really no contest here for Prince yet.
Yeah, he's doing really well, but I feel like it's not an issue of Void versus Luna, it's an issue of Luna versus Lina. Because I think Fearless is really just going to be the win condition. It's not the Void. The Void eventually just becomes a Chrono bot. You want some damage there, but your Lina is going to be doing most of the brunt work. Omega trying to smoke up to get control in the top jungle. Don't really find her target. Jackie backs off right in time. They've got the forward wards as well to kind of watch that. And they stay protected, so not finding the big jump they'd want. Could take this opportunity to commit from mid. So they do still hold on to the Ravage and Dream Coil, and they will go. Force out the Fortify and Motivate Trust. It doesn't look like they're going to bring the heroes to bear for this defense, but Omega, yeah, should be able to find this mid-tier 1 if no one comes in.
Gonna try. Van just slowly chipping away, and that is gonna go. No problem, Motivate not feeling confident enough to try and force the fight. Omega, they'll take over that dire jungle now. Start working on that top tier 2 tower. It's going to be a bit of a re-invasion as Masaros does get a nice arena off onto the Elder Titan. To Zenki, he's going to try for the stomp, but Fearless will have none of it. Midst the Laguna immediately to ensure the kill. And in the meantime, PLs, he's going to be just fine on this puck. Very, very slippery hero, just hard to catch, and I'll have to accept the Elder Titan kill. While that was happening though, John, Van does pick up the blink now, and I think if you are Omega, you just wait for this Elder Titan to be back up in 5 seconds, and you're definitely going to just smoke up and try to make a big play happen.
That's what I want to see from Omega. I think the last time we saw Van's Titan last game, with the blink timing up, they didn't manage to play aggressive with it, so that has to change here. But there's some BKBs flying through from Motivate Trust, BKB and Fearless. Means that he has a window where he could respond, pop the spell immunity, just get out of dodge. There's that smoke you were asking for though, Mike. So they will look to hunt. They are going in the right direction into that a nice top jungle. See if Van finds the angle here.
Could be a nice stream coil here for PLs if you can get it, and there's your Ravage out. Onto the coil as well. They just want Jackie down and they'll get exactly that. In fact, they'll even find a cherry on top here with Masaros. He'll try and make his way out, but there is really no way out. Nice initiation there from Omega. Yeah, they stacked their spells a little bit, but who the hell cares? They got the targets they wanted. Motivate, they just don't have an answer at the moment. They just don't. In fact, they're the ones now that look like they need to be making the plays, but they're just not ready for it.
Yeah, they're holding back. They're still trying to build up farm. I think they are just waiting. Void, so the BKB on Jackie's going to be really big. They catch Senki out though.
How long though? Hero is around. Fearless going to join in from the side, and now with the Fiend's Grip out, they might be able to get this Titan. They do get the Rubik down. Fearless, he's just manning up. He'll find two already onto the third Prince. That is a lot of damage, sir. He's going to try and run, but Fearless. All right, we might have another rampage on our hands as Fearless does pick it up. You give this man a double damage rune, he'll just carry the team on his back. And they are right onto the Roshan pit. And I guess that goes back to what you mentioned earlier, John. It's not about Jackie, it's about Fearless.
He is the guy that let it rip here. I mean, that DD, just timely, right? We always talk about this. DD before Roche. This time it's DD before a Roche fight into Roche. Fearless gets max value. Great chrono coming out from Jackie as well. Getting control on the clock. And they might find more fuel.
Hero does have the blink up, so able to get out of the arena, no problem. But if you're Motivate, you've got to be more than happy with what just occurred. I mean, Fearless going to start working towards the right-click build-up. 4K net worth lead now for Motivate, Trust, and Omega. I mean, it was a very even game earlier on, but now it is going to start drifting the way of Motivate. They've definitely got a bit of momentum behind them now as Masaros. He's going to get caught out here by Hero. Stomp is going to land, and that should be another kill onto the Mars. They'll eventually get it, Masaros. He'll just try to buy a bit of time, but ultimately will end up dropping.
They find a nice pick-off for Omega side. Doesn't compensate for the lost Roche fight or the lost Aegis. Gives them some more control on that top jungle, so they can clear out the camps. Maybe shove in that top tier 2 for a bit. But they can't really commit for a bigger fight. Ravage is going to be back on Vando. They can look to pressure that top tier 1 to defense. Fearless, he's by himself here.
He's feeling confident with that Aegis up, and man, look at the damage.
God.
That Luna just doesn't survive one Light Strike array. And by the time the stun lands, there's no point popping BKB anyway. I'm gonna right-click you.
Yeah. It's just too much. And that's him without the full Silver Edge. There are no crits on hand. This is just all her raw damage. And the lean is just a bit ridiculous. Once that full Silver Edge is up with a crit, it's going to be even more painful. And Fearless is just doing work. I have to say, the one thing I've been wondering about Fearless, Mike, is why does he have the area of a circle as a sponsor? Pi r squared. I'm wondering why. Is he trying to say something about life being a circle? Is that it? Like it all comes full circle? Some days you win, some days you lose? What's Fearless trying to say?
Maybe, John. He's a very philosophical man here, Fearless. Maybe just really into math. You never know. Just wants to go back to the high school days. What was that even for? Like the diameter of a circle, right? Was it that?
The area.
Circumference? The area, all right. Well, yeah. I was never good at math anyway, John, so, you know. I'm too old for this crap.
How dare you, Mike? You're well, are you technically Asian? Because, you know, the Middle East is in Asia, so you're technically Asian, aren't you?
No,
I
think
at math.
No, I mean it's more. I'm more Eastern European, I think. I don't know. Even my own people don't know anymore, John. we just go with it. Whatever country we were born in, that's it. You know, I just say I'm Australian now. It's Omega. And what does it matter if I'm Asian, Jonathan? You're not very good at math. As far as I know.
Fearless.
Fearless. He's been caught out. That's a big pick-off. That'll be the Aegis, though. Not the real life. Now, Omega, they know they can't stand around for much longer. In fact, an immediate smoke here for Motivate Trust. Prince, he's playing no games. BKB out, just going to try and run, but they are still on the chase. With this Silver Edge up now on Fearless, he's just going to keep the vision up. Piols is there, though, to try and hold them back, but a great arena. Masaros, he catches him right on the edge. That'll be Prince gone. And in we go for more now. This Tide not going to be too tanky with that Silver Edge break. The Chrono was committed just in case, but it's looking like a pretty big cleanup. Heals, he's going to try and fight back. In fact, he's found two. They got Fearless, they got set 0, but now the puck will drop. Masros does find the spear. And Zenki, well, he's going to try and get himself out, but they have plenty of stuns available here from Q. And they are onto that tier 2 mid tower now, Motivate.
Yeah. They will have to wait for the next creep wave, and the Fortify was forced out early, but they still win out that team fight. That was a great Laguna steal from Hero to kind of get some burst damage off. Not enough to shift the tides. They still find a big kill, though. Lina goes down, so in the end, you're not feeling too bad about that engage, but it still comes out in Motivate Trust's favor. They are starting to pile up, and the damage is also starting to flow in for Jackie. Like, he is above our Luna's net worth, you know, just behind the Lina. So even if he's not the big win condition, the Faceless Void is starting to hit hard, and it's becoming a bit hard to pin down as well. So Motivate Trust having multiple great scaling heroes, whereas for Omega, I mean, the puck scales into the late game, but it scales in a different way compared to Void, compared to Lina. You tend to scale in utility to a certain extent damage, but we don't tend to see that sort of damage build up on the puck with the emphasis on her right-click talents with, say, a Dream Coil, Rapid Fire, and Phase Shift attack. Just not something that we see a lot of players go into. So your main point for that puck scaling is like the Ags build up, which is still ways off for our puck. I think for Motivate Trust, they've got the edge now. You know, 8k lead, 15 to 21. They're taking all the fights. They might drop a couple of heroes. They're feeling good. Omega, they will smoke up. They've got Ravage. They've got Dream Coil. They can force something big here if they find the right target.
They're gonna try. Motivate, they seem to be reading the movement again. For a counter smoke play now. Because it's quite obvious at the moment where each team is, but might just go for those T2 towers instead, just trade them up. See if either side has time to try and defend their own Tier 2 tower, as it looks like they do. Motivate. They glyph up, Masros will rotate, but he is scattered out immediately. But he is going to protect his own Tier 2 tower. The rest of Motivate, they won't move. They'll just take the outpost. This might be the difference, right? Like Omega, they still had time to go after that tier 2. I suppose considering they couldn't see the rest of Motivate Trust, though, they weren't feeling too good about it. But now Motivate, they will and truly have control of the map. And this is when they can start to get very aggressive onto the side of Omega, as Zenki is going to run right into them, into the loving arms of Set 0. That'll be one down. Suppose on the bright side, it was just your older Titan. The rest of Omega, they can back off to safety, but this game is just going to be imminently more hard as time goes on now for the side of Omega.
Yeah, and look at Fearless. He just solos that top tier 1. He has a ton of damage. Another DD in his name. Unfortunately, no Roshan. That timing's not quite there. We're going to see that Rosh respawn in about a minute in how long that next timer is. But Motivate Trust are set up for it quite nicely. They've got that forward triangle ward to watch movement out. They're also scouting out for Piols. They've got Set 0 around with a grip ready to go. Piols.
Try and blink away. Orb towards the north. He should be okay. Oh, Q! But that Scatterblast didn't land. Hero, meanwhile, did end up going down. That was a Scatterblast with the shards up. I actually can't believe that didn't stun him.
Sometimes, you know, that server tick doesn't line up in your favor. Sometimes, you know, it's a beta game. Range just doesn't reach sometimes, you know. It is what it is. Still, I mean, nice pick off for Motivate Trust. Not the most meaningful. And Piold's going to be happy that he's safe. I don't know if he even saw the snap far from the tree line, right? I don't think he had outside vision, so he never even knew he was in danger there. So, you know, no harm done.
I mean, the animation did go through his body, John, so I'm not sure if you saw that part, but, you know, Lord Gaben blessing PLs on the puck at the moment, making sure he does remain safe for a little bit longer. Omega keep trying to catch back up against Motivate, but it seems like the net worth lead just keeps growing for Motivate Trust now as PLs. He's going to be okay to just orb his way out. The net worth graph, though, not painting the prettiest picture here for Omega Esports. And this game is just getting worse. Like Fearless, he's got an Eye of Skadi coming up very soon. Jackie going for that SMY build-up. But as long as he lands a decent chrono, I mean, he doesn't even need damage anymore. He just needs to survive long enough to land that big ulti. Fearless will do the rest every time. And they really haven't got the answers for the Lina. Especially while the BKB's up, they just can't deal with him.
Yeah, they just don't have that hold. It comes back to, say, Void versus Luna to an extent, or Faceless Void versus literally everyone, right? Like, Chrono will always give you control advantage no matter what. The one play Omega has is maybe going for that Ags on Fields. They've got BKB piercing in their own Dream Coil, and Van with quick fingers on the Blink Ravage, but until that point, it's a lot harder to pull off. Like, Van has to be on top of the Lina and off of the Void to actually stun them with a Ravage, and that can be tough. Finding both of those heroes clumped up, it's next to impossible.
Yeah, Mega, 5-man smoke. They could find Masaros by himself, but that's a quick BKB out in a 4-man arena. Masaros setting up a great team fight now as they just rain in with the Mortimer's kisses. Zenki and Hero are both gone, and Van's gone to boot. He knew it was coming. That BKB was just way too quick. And they're onto the Roshan pit. Once again, Shard's out with the Aegis. And Omega, I mean, what do you do? You know, it's just such a rough game.
Yeah. They don't have much they can do. They do pass the Aegis to Fearless now, so 2 lives on Arena once more. Shard going the way of Jackie. So there's that time walk up now, the moonwalking time walk back and forth, massive nuisance in these fights. And that makes it even harder to pin down the Faceless Void. Like with the BKB, with a time walk backwards, how do you lock down the Void?
Puck's really playing with fire, John. Quite literally, as Fearless was trying to catch him out. And now you've got that gobble up available for Q as well. Even rougher times now for Omega. Prince, you get in the Daedalus. I don't know if damage is the problem though. That being said, I don't know how he's going to survive these team fights anyway, quite frankly. So it doesn't feel like a damage issue. It feels more like a survivability issue as Zenki gets taken down once again. And Motivate, they're not slowing. Every time they see somebody on the map, they want that kill. Piols now may get caught out at 0. Has that Aether Lens for the range, but doesn't have the vision.
Can't outrun a wild.
Just keep controlling the map here.
They've got basically the entire map under their control here for Motivate Trust. They're farming a lot better. They've got a lot more camps to play with, a lot more lanes to shove out. And Omega can't really dip out for safety reasons, so can't really play too far forward. They will commit for the TP defense, but Prince actually cancels once he sees more heroes, and Piols.
Set Zero knows he's going somewhere north. There is no TP. Oh, that's a great spear from Masaros. Can they get the grip? Not quite yet. Piols, he's okay. He does lose the tier 2 mid tower. I suppose he survives though. That's something.
It's something. He's forcing rotations out for Motivate Trust, buying some space out to keep trying to play this catch-up game for Prince. So they're getting some space out. Prince, that Daedalus you mentioned, Mike, is almost done, and damage will be up. But as you mentioned, I think I agree with your point. I don't think it's damage for Prince. It's just standing and surviving that's a major issue. He might have been better off with, say, Satanic. Even a Scotty for stats could have helped out here. But we'll see if he does diverge for those down the line. Motivate Trust still have the Aegis running for 2.5 minutes. They are shoving in the mid and bot. They could look for the high ground soon. There is a Dagon up on Piols. So Dagon 1, not the highest nuke damage yet. But eventually, once you stack that up, in a prolonged fight, if you use that at the right moment, you can burn. But look at Fearless. A mile away outside tower range. You gotta love Lina. With her range, with her level 25. It's like a sniper. You're just out there, you're a better sniper. That's it.
Do you remember the time when Sniper was the only hero that could do this? I mean, there was that just... It felt like a decade ago now, as just Dragonlance just makes it so you don't need it. In fact, he doesn't even have a Dragonlance. He's just hitting with the attack range talent. No problem here. PL's nice Dream Coil is going to snap it immediately, but the save Q is there with the Gobble Up, and now the Chrono's out. They found the Luna. This is not great news, as there's a double Chrono, but Hero, that is not going to help you, sir. And they just clean up, motivate. No sweats being broken, as they even drop a casual arena out. Masteron's just celebrating. Kind of just sends a message like, we don't even need these spells anymore. We're going for the tier 4 towers and motivate. It looks like they are set to finish off their night with a 2-0 victory here against Omega Esports. As well, they've really only got the Elder Titan to defend with. Buyback available on Van. I don't think that helps whatsoever, though. They're onto the Ancient. Omega, they're going to call the GG and they'll just leave the lobby. They will go for one final kill here for Fearless. They'll get it. No problem.
Yeah.
So it started off as a pretty rough.
Yeah, it's a great way for Jackie to celebrate his birthday. The birthday boy finally finding a 2-0